Pablo Oliveros is next on the agenda, and his contribution is centered on new generation crowd infrastructure enabling digital sovereignty. Pablo is the Huawei's Cloud Business Development Manager for Central America and the Caribbean and has more than 10 years' experience in cloud service solutions. He has been a company advisor for different industries, focusing on how to embrace new technologies, migrate to cloud infrastructure, and take advantage of the new trends in information technology. Welcome, Pablo.
Thank you very much for the opportunity of being here. I'm very pleased. I'm very happy to share with you some information about cloud technologies, about how the new generation of cloud infrastructure will be able to enable the digital sovereignty on different type of industries, especially government, but not only or exclusively to government. As you mentioned before, I already have more than 10 years of experience advising different type of companies, different industries, nothing specifically on how to migrate to cloud. And cloud is very interesting how it's been evolving over the years, because it's been quite a rough journey to embrace this type of technology. I know that companies sometimes are a little bit scared about taking that leap of faith towards a cloud service, since this is very complicated getting detached from the traditional infrastructure and traditional software and services. But it's been proven that economically speaking, it is more reliable. It is more economically viable, more security reliable, and in terms of adoption and maturity of technology, it's obviously a great platform that will allow us to deploy any type of project application that we might be able to deliver to our customers. So in my presentation, I will be looking at three topics. First one is the vision of the government transformation. Then we will talk about the Huawei solution architecture and some typical scenario and best practices that the whole cloud and the digital sovereignty, this evolution of cloud services are able to deliver to the different organizations, private and publicly. So if we go take a travel back in time, we can take a look at how the evolution of the social needs has driven a digital transformation on the governments. The new era of intelligent governance has come. So we can go back about 70 years behind, how the electronic information era started beginning to take shape with the Weberian model that would eventually lead us to the technology that we are currently using, such as PCs, emails, the data center, the internet, the cloud computing, the mobile applications, and eventually the big data, AI, and blockchain solutions. On the 1990s, we started embracing this technology more publicly. The online services area began. However, the whole potential of this type of technology was not embraced until around 2010s, in which we start exploring the usage in common scenarios for cloud technology, cloud computing, the application, the mobile devices make a big boom in the world, and eventually, right now, we are no longer talking about cloud as a novelty. We are talking about cloud sometimes even as a commodity that it is available from different vendors, but we need to understand which is the right one, which is the right one for you, which is the right one for your application, what type of technology are these vendors focusing in, what type of solutions they are developing. In our particular case, we can see how the digital transformation has led us towards artificial intelligence, IoT, big data analytics, as the new way, as the future in terms of technology and the recopilation of the data in order to take advantage of all this information that previously was just sitting there somewhere without us having the ability of exploring it, interpret it, utilize this information. You know what they say, that data is the oil of the new millennium. So basically, this evolution is leading us naturally to this type of technology. So when it comes down to the intelligence of the government era, um, we know that there's many challenges that different type of industries are facing, not only government, but we can all remember how the technology has changed our lives. Sorry, the pandemic has changed our life in terms of our day-to-day um, activities and how we go to work, how we interact with other people, and this is has taken all the companies to take a big step in cloud services. However, there's still a few things that are always looming in the back, as these insecurities that sometimes we are not exactly sure how to deal with it, especially in terms of security, data governance, the sovereignty, as I mentioned before. We know that companies, governments, countries, they need to make sure that the data is safe, it is available, it is reliable, whether if it's on premise or in any type of cloud. So that's why we can realize that many countries all over the world has begun to implement some new private clouds to embrace digital sovereignty. As we can see on the slide here, countries like South Korea, Japan, Russia, Africa, Germany, continents as Europe themselves have promote a lot of rules, a lot of laws that guarantees that are looking out for to protect the data of the companies of the users due to this big boom of cloud migrations. So it is very important to understand how are going to be able to provide a solution for this. Now, in terms of our cloud, are actually focusing on the needs of the different type of industries due to the digital transformation. As I mentioned earlier, the digital transformation has made significant changes to many of our traditions, to many to change the ways that we are usually working. But in terms of the government, the education, the healthcare, media, there are many new technologies that has has evolved, and the cloud, the platform, has been evolving in order to provide this type of capacities, not only the infrastructure, but more in a form of a software as a service and a platform as a service. So it is important to understand that all of these verticals, all of these industries have the ability to evolve as well with the cloud computing, embrace and take advantage of all these new features and capacities that we didn't used to have 5 or 10 years ago, and have total confidence that their data will not have any type of external influence manipulations, because that is exactly what sovereignty means, not having any type of external influence over our data. Now, as I mentioned before, the cloud itself has evolved. We have been moving from the infrastructure as a service, the typical servers, storage, what else? Networking, for example, um, colocation services in some cloud providers, to a full package solution, software as a service, as you may know it. So it is important to understand how this is actually a part of the scheme to develop this type of digital strategy that will eventually lead us to data sovereignty, the business continuity, and the trust and security that we need on our cloud providers. So we need to understand how this works. So we need to understand that we are currently providing a unified platform which is able to deliver all the solutions that I mentioned before, all this evolution of capacities and services on the cloud, such as big data, artificial intelligence, and IoT, blockchain, and so on. So basically, we have these new capacities, but we need to know if it's safe to use, how protected I am, and we need to understand that the cloud addresses the digital sovereignty in three ways. First is data sovereignty, then is operational sovereignty, and software sovereignty. The data sovereignty will basically rely on password encryption keys and other mechanisms of security that will allow the data to keep safe, stay safe on all the forms. I mean, during the creation of data, the transmission of the data, and data at rest. The operational security is the operational sovereignty is more based on the people that are working um, around these data centers, around this infrastructure, and they are not able to compromise the data, the applications, and all the information that rests in the data center. And finally, the software sovereignty allows every customer to use their own applications, open software, licensed software. Basically, the cloud is agnostic to the type of software or application or licensing method that the final customer is willing to use. And this eventually will use the two drivers, which is digital governance and operations and digital service and experience, to achieve the vision and the goals, which is a service oriented in people, economically empowering innovation, society harmony and prosperity, education, healthcare, and environmental green and eco-friendly, which is basically what we are aiming to. The whole platform and the architecture that enables ICT digital transformation is summarized in this slide. As we can see, the cloud provides the infrastructure necessary to host all the applications, all the elements that are necessary, such as security services, the network services, computing storage, AI, and databases. All of them combined provide solutions with all the necessary elements to provide the services that we are looking for to enable the digital transformation. But most important is to understand that this works as a whole. So the single elements are not able to provide the solutions that we are looking for, the data sovereignty that we are looking for. This is something that we need to understand, that the elements has been developed um, together in order to work together to provide us the SLAs to provide the necessary elements of security. But above all this, these data centers, the cloud itself, is covered, it is protected, it is run by using different type of service standards in the industry, such as ISO and PCI rules, C-Star compliance certifications, European Union GDPR, just to mention a few. All the data centers are having around 70 or plus um, digital certifications of security and quality assurance. So this is very important to understand, that is surrounding all these capacities that we are looking right now on our screen. And finally, when we talk about some of the typical scenarios and best practice, is when we try to understand how this is affecting me, how can I take advantage of this type of technology. As I mentioned at the beginning, we have to think about the cloud as the driver, as the platform. I remember that 5 or maybe 7 years ago, we were talking about mega trends of the industry, and when we talk about mega trends, we always talk about the big data, we always talk about cloud, we talk about social media and analytics. So basically, these were the, the digital trends 7 years ago. Now we talk about uh, other things such as artificial intelligence, IoT, 5G, just to mention a few. And this is very important to know and have present, because the services are evolving so quickly that we need to know that there are many capacities that were not there 1 year ago, 2 years ago, that now can that we can take advantage of them right now, and we can shape them into the form that we need, into the solution that we are looking for. For example, we can think about different ways of empower the applications. We need to enhance the platform capabilities to support joint innovation for shared and success. We need to also harness the power of data. As we mentioned, we at the Huawei Cloud, we are committed to protect customer data sovereignties. We never monetize data for profit. So this is a very important characteristic of the cloud. The cloud business is not about the information, it's not about the data. So it's about the service, it's about the business continuity. It's about delivering more functionalities and applications such as AI, big data capacities, as I mentioned before. And we also obviously need to provide all the necessary security to embrace the digital transformation, as deliver all these digital capacities to build an intelligent world. Some of the solutions are based on artificial intelligence and telecommunications. So basically, we can take a look on how the cloud provides solutions such as smart education, which is transforming the way that people are learning. Obviously, the pandemic played a big role, a very important role, because it accelerated the whole process of understanding and using this type of technology. So we can take a look on how companies, how it doesn't matter if it's education, if it's government, or is it just any type of um, academic purposes, are using technology to provide the content for academic purposes. They are also relying on the network, the capacities of the transmission of data, 5G networks that will play a major role. Around 58% of the world will have access to this technology in the next 4 or 5 years. And many of these organizations has been using cloud services to store the data and also to provide the platform and the mechanism for them, for the students to communicate to the teachers, to communicate to other students, and to deliver all the content that they will usually deliver personally. For the healthcare industry, which is another one that uh, has taken a lot of benefits of this digital transformation, we can see how the cloud has provided them with the necessary tools for them to use technology to easily diagnose patients with different diseases in record time, meaning that when it usually takes like 20 to 30 minutes to diagnose a patient with maybe 70% accuracy, artificial intelligence is able to do this in around 20 to 30 seconds with a 97% of accuracy. Now, this doesn't mean that people will, doctors, for example, will lose their job. It just means that they will be able to provide more services quicker and focus on the most important things, which is the patients and the accuracy of the diagnosis that they are providing. Artificial intelligence is able to provide different type of services such as screening that will be able to diagnose correctly different diseases such as COVID-19, um, the early stages of breast cancer, for example, or different type of lung diseases. But this is something that also requires that the data that we are uploading to the cloud have this security, because we are now handling a lot of personal information on the cloud. So again, if we are not exactly sure that the cloud provider that we are choosing has all the necessary certifications, all the best practices in the industry that provides security and data governance, then we should be using a different type of cloud provider, or in some other cases, we can also start thinking about using a hybrid cloud, which is another method for us to keep the data locally and take advantage of the capacities and the functionalities that the public cloud can provide us. Hybrid solution has taken a lot of popularity in financial institutions and governmental institutions, because they basically combine the best of both worlds, which is data governance due to the fact that the infrastructure is going to be kept locally, and the elasticity and the capacities, the full stack scenarios that a public cloud can provide. So I want to leave you with this message. First, cloud is nothing that we should be afraid of. Cloud is something that we should be understanding, and we should be more willing to experience with, maybe not with our core business application. We can start with something small. We can start with something maybe not so important. So we can start validating all the capacities, latencies, economical models, um, and obviously be aware that any cloud provider that you should choose should have all the necessary security elements, best practice in the industry, certifications, and guarantees an SLA that it is affordable and suitable for your needs, because business continuity, business data governance, and digital sovereignty are the three most important keys elements of the management of the information. And obviously, we are thinking about the wellness of your organization. So I thank you very much for your time. I appreciate this opportunity of sharing this information with you, and thank you very much.
Cloud technology is certainly the way of the present and future. Thank you so much, Pablo, for sharing with us. We appreciate having you with us as well.